What's up, Graceway? We have a special Throwback Thursday for you this week. KIRK Martin from Celebrate Calm is here with us, and we're going to show you his teaching from our parenting conference that he led. So sit back, relax, and enjoy KIRK's message.
So as people are coming back in, a couple questions I got during the break. I encourage you to observe your kids. Observe your kids. They will tell you everything they need by what they do. I don't always need a diagnosis. If I see kids' legs are bouncing all the time, maybe ADHD, I don't know, but all it tells me is they need to move a little bit, so I give them opportunities. Kids with sensory issues. If I notice kids who are always kind of pushing up against stuff, or they come home from school and they like being under things in confined, any of you have those kids like kind of being in confined spaces? I don't necessarily need to say, well, it sounds like sensory processing disorder. All I know is it must feel good on their bodies. So, 3 things for those kids. One is sleeping at night. I'll put them in a sleeping bag, shove them in a closet. Don't tell anyone you're doing that. They will often sleep so well because they like being wrapped up in something confined. I let them do, ask the teachers to allow them to do their schoolwork, take tests, do schoolwork, sitting underneath their desk at school. Some of your kids, it's a phenomenal thing. Do homework under their desk. So we had this cool thing that I did with these kids at my house, and this will fall under like the meltdown, how do you calm kids down? So I noticed a lot of these kids, do any of you have kids who will take the cushions off the sofa and then lay down on the hard part of the sofa? And it's weird. And so that's one of those things like, why do you do that? And you have to be curious. And so when kids were melting down in my home sometimes, if they were like that, I had a code word, 1-word code word. Sofa, and their job was to go in the living room, throw the cushions off the sofa, because I knew they weren't going to place them down nicely when they were upset, throw them off, and they would lie down on the hard part of the sofa. I would then go into the living room, put the cushions on top of them, and sit on top of them. It was instantly calming for a couple reasons. One, it's weird. 2, the physical pressure felt really good for them, and I wasn't looking them in the eyes. Does that make sense? So I'm sitting on top of them, and it's calming, and now we can have a great talk. So really observe and use that. So a good question was, so you've got multiple kids, and this strong-willed child isn't going to do the same things as the other kids. That's not fair. How come you let him get away with things, and yet we have to do all these things? And so that's a great opportunity to teach that life's not fair, suck it up and deal with it, that's fine. But where I really go with kids is to say, look, and this is going to be a little bit harsher approach, but I like it with kids. I'm a big fan of being very, very honest and direct with kids, especially strong-willed ones, because they can take it. You know, true? You like that's why, forgive me, I'm a little bit rough sometimes in how I present, and sometimes my language isn't good, and so don't blame the pastor. That's on me. Forgive me for that. But I deal a lot with people like you who like that and respond to it, and sometimes it's like, well, honey, here's what you need to do. She's like, I don't want to hear it. But if I go up to her and I drop a few swear words and tell her to grow up and stop acting like a kid, she's like, got it, sir, I'm good. And so that's kind of where I fall with it. Anyway, so with those kids who are like, it's not fair, you're not disciplining him, you're not a good parent, it's not fair, you let him get away. Here's my talk. So let's talk about fairness. Here's what's not fair. It's not fair that you were born in such a way with a brain that makes it easy for you to get your homework done quickly, because you come home every day and you knock it out. Your brother has a brain that's wired in such a way, it's very busy up there. It takes him 3 hours to get things done. You know what else isn't fair? It's not fair that you connect really easily with other people. You've got friends at school, you get invited to sleepovers. Ever notice that your brother never gets invited to sleepovers? You know what else isn't fair? And I go down the line. At the end of it, I say, so if you want to talk about fairness, we can talk about fairness, but I think we should talk about gratitude, you little snot. Right? I'm just kidding with that, but does that make sense? I'd rather talk honestly. I don't want to go to the other kids and say, you know what? Your brother has some issues, and I'm not making excuses to say, look, he's wired completely. His brain, the way God made him is completely different from the way that he made you. You're going to sail through life. Stuff's going to be easy for you. People like you. Teachers like you. You want to walk a day in your brother's shoes? Ever notice that he's in trouble all the time? Ever notice it's difficult for him to connect with people? So yeah, you want fairness? We can go fairness. But it's not fair that you were made in such a way that things are much easier for you. Does that make sense? I like being honest with kids because now I just gave you some perspective, and it's up to you what you do with that. And if you want to grow up and be a bitter, miserable person, I can't change that either. That's your heart you need to manage. And the rule in our home is we control ourselves. I don't control other people, and I don't control you, because you know what you're doing? You're whining and complaining right now. You're starting to be a bitter little kid. You want me, your brother, he doesn't whine. He just steals stuff and doesn't do anything we want him to do. But you better be nice to your brother, because one day he's going to own his own business, and you're going to work for him, right? Because you're already working for him with the chores. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. One quick one, too, is some people have asked about, you're divorced, remarried, and this is very common. One of the your child is, and I don't want to make generalizations, but it's generally true of, in those situations, the divorced dad sometimes ends up being Disney dad. No rules, lets kid do whatever he wants because he doesn't want his child to reject him. And then mom ends up being the disciplinarian. Fairly common. Here's the really hard part. It's virtually impossible for kids to not look at their dad as a hero, even if that dad is not a great person. It's almost impossible. They will overlook 100 flaws of their father because we need our dads to be that. And they were going to reject the mom. And I believe in that case, sometimes you have to speak directly to that child and say, I get it, you love your dad, you've got to love your dad. And so here's what I know. I'm not going to change the way I parent you. And I am going to have rules, and I'm going to enforce it, and I'm going to be tough on you. And what I trust is that in time, you will know that you actually respect that, and you know that you need that from me. Right now, you're probably going to reject me, and you're going to embrace your father. And that's going to hurt a lot, but I play the long game. Anyway, you're probably going to do that, but what I want you to know is, when you're ready, I'm going to be here. And here's what you always know. I'm never going to leave you. I will never forsake you, and I'll always be here for you. Now, is that child going to be like, Mom, I see the light? No, they're probably going to leave for a few years, and they're going to embrace their dad because they have to in a way. But I want them eventually coming back. And all you're going to have to do, you're going to have to cry a lot, and you're going to have to grieve that for a while, but that's the way that it is. But I want you to maintain the relationship, but don't give in, because that won't work either, right? They just need to be with their dad because it's something deep inside kids. So I hope that helps, and we can do some stuff during a break too if you want. So let's do some things on... sorry about that. Defiance, some of those things, motivating kids. Let's do this one. How many of you have the relentless arguer? Good, good, good. So here's a good example of that. They're pretty much made like that, and it's a good thing in the end. But let me do this example. So I come home from work, and Robert comes home from school, and he's like, Dad, you need to take me to GameStop. I want the new video game. Did you just do that? Okay. Typical dad's response is going to be like, you already have all these games you don't play with, and they're going to be like, Dad, thanks for the wisdom, I forgot, right? So I don't do explanations. Hey, not happening today. Always even matter of fact. Now what's going to happen? Child's going to come after you, arguing all the reasons he deserves to get it, all these different things, and you're going to walk away and he's going to follow you, right? And so here's how it works. He's going to follow you, and you're going to walk away, and he's going to keep going, and you're going to go upstairs. You're going to lock your bedroom door. He's going to go outside and climb up through the second floor window, and he's going to come in because that's what they're like. So anyway, here's where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say, not going to happen. He's going to start arguing, and this is one way to handle it, is say, hey, Robert, listen, I've seen this movie unfold in our home like 43 times this month. Because all these situations happen again and again. So here's how this movie unfolds. All day at school today, you were thinking about that new video game because it's really cool. Probably weren't even paying attention in class because you were thinking about it because all your friends have it and you don't, because your friends have parents who don't love their children because they buy them whatever they want. So you were thinking of all of my objections to getting you the video games. You know why? Because you have good critical thinking skills, and that'll serve you well in life one day. But we're not going to GameStop. So the movie unfolds. You come home. You demand that I take you someplace. I don't do demanding, so I say no. I walk away. You follow me. I close the door. You go up through the second floor window and come in. You know why? Because you're persistent. When you want something and care about something, you are relentless and you do not give up. And I love that quality because a Harvard study showed the number one quality for success in life is not good grades or good behavior. It is pig-headed determination, and you have it. But we're not going to GameStop. So here's how this movie unfolds every time. And you could skip right to this point. You want something? I say no. You argue with me. I still say no. You keep going and keep going. You eventually say really disrespectful things to me, and you end up in tears. And you not only will not go to GameStop, you will lose all of your other privileges. That's how it ends every time. True? So read. See, it's teaching. Look, I know it's about to happen. You're going to argue and call me names, and you're going to end up in tears, and you're not going to get what you want. So here's ownership. I will give you an opportunity to rewrite the ending to this movie because it never ends well for you. I've got to go get started on dinner because I like the movement. I like to lead him, right? So I've got an idea. You want that new video game. I know you love money. I know you love raking leaves. You love shoveling mulch, doing other things, little kids, walk dogs. I bet if you come downstairs and we use all of that brain energy and that persistence, we could come up with 3 different ways for you to earn some money. And then on Saturday morning, you could use your own money and buy that video game. Choice is up to you. I walk away. Instead of like, why can't you ever take no for an answer? I'm teaching him a different way. Does that make sense? And again, I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to argue, and I'm not going to give reasons why, because he'll just overcome every reason. Let's do a more, let me do this tough one, and I'll do like an emotional one. So this is kind of a famous story that we've told a lot with Casey when he was about 11, and he played ice hockey. And one day, he was kind of getting full of himself, and I said, hey, you need to rake the leaves, got to get it done. And his response was, I don't have to. How many of your kids do that stuff? And you're like, half of you is like, oh, is he going to end up in jail? And then the other half is, I wish I had a little bit of that confidence, right? Because they are like hard-charging kids. He's like, I don't have to. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I can roll with that. So look, I'm good with that, Casey. We've just determined that we don't have to do things for each other in our home. I'm cool with that. And I walked away. And I'm sure at that time he was like, my dad's a pushover. I don't have to do it. Well, what I knew is the next morning he had a hockey game. So the next morning I got up early. I got in my quiet time. Went in, did my walk, talked to God, got a little workout in. So I was ready for him. He was up early because hockey's early when you're little like that. So he comes downstairs. I'm reading the paper like Ward Cleaver. He comes down, he's like, Dad, you got to take me to the ice rink. And I said, I don't have to. He's like, seriously, Dad? Seriously? Those were leaves. I've got a game. You have to take me. No, we established last night that we don't have to do things for each other, and I don't want to go to the rink because it's really cold there, and I'm really comfortable. Now, look, it's not about provoking him. It kind of was a little bit, but I knew what I was doing and I wanted to do at that time, and I was prepared for it, right? So you know how your kids are. They go from here to here. You know what? This is stupid. You're supposed to be a parenting expert. This is the dumbest thing I've ever... You know what his fallback was? Why anybody would ever buy your CDs, I don't know, right? Like, you don't even know what you're doing. So he always hit me on that. The other thing he always got when we were on the road, we have a little thing of we try to make each other really upset. And he would do it at times. And right before the workshop, he'd be like, Dad, is this what you're going to teach parents tonight, how to control yourself? Because I just lost control of something. So that's how great a relationship we have. And it makes me live it because he calls me out on it and I call him out on it. But anyway, so he's getting furious. This is stupid. This is dumb. Your leaves are dumb. And they pull out the words that you hate. Like, you don't use the word stupid in our home. Guarantees when they get upset, they're going to use the word stupid like 400 times because they know what your triggers are. So he starts stomping away. I have every right to lay the law down. If you would have done what I told you to do last night, we wouldn't be here. Nothing wrong with that, except it's kind of immature and it doesn't work. So next thing I hear, he's in the kitchen, and I hear the whispering. And all the dads know this, which is he's talking to his mom. Mom, you know how Dad is. He's unreasonable, right? And that makes me furious. Like, do not freaking, sorry, I did the freaking thing. Sorry. That is totally myself. Can I tell you something? No, I'm not going to tell you. I just apologize for using that. So, you're lucky I didn't use the full word. So anyway, you're not lucky. I'm just bad like that. And I feel really conflicted. So, anyway. I gotcha. So, he's in the kitchen doing that, and I hear, so my wife peeks out and says, just take him. And I was like, and I remember the moment I said, I love him too much. My advice, honey, is that now would be a good time to maybe run some errands and not come back till maybe tomorrow. Because it's going to be ugly. But I was prepared for it. So he stomps up the stairs, slams the bedroom door. Why? You don't slam my door. You don't have to respect me, but you're going to respect my furniture. How many guys do that one? That's a good one, right? So then he'd come down later, stomping. You know how they do it, stomping and doing all this because they want to irritate you. And you have every right to get up out of the chair and read him the riot act because it's all about him. And I didn't. And that's where humility sometimes comes in, because I knew the end game and what I was looking for, and he just wanted the reaction. And I didn't do it. So he comes down, he's like, stupid leaves. And that irritated me. Why? Because I planted that tree that bore those leaves. It's not a stupid tree. So, fine. Oh, he did this one. What if I go rake them up now? Can I go? Not the way it works. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So finally, how many of your kids do that stuff? And here's this other one when he was a kid. Ridiculous. Oh, with so much contempt. How many of your kids do that one? I love, that's my favorite. Ridiculous. There's so much contempt for the parent. The fact that you haven't murdered your children yet means you're good parents. Seriously, there's no excuse for it. But the end game of just like, you're not going to talk to me like that, yeah, they actually are, right? So finally he comes down, fine, I'll rake your stupid leaves. So he goes down to the garage, gets the rake, and I'm watching outside. You know what he's doing? He's not raking up my leaves. He's raking up my lawn because he's doing it so hard, he's pulling up my grass. That's when I had murderous thoughts in my head, right? So, collect myself, go down to the garage, grab another rake, and I go out, right? The old me was like, I'm going to go out and teach him a lesson. How would we like it if God was sitting up there now like, you know what? I think it's time to teach him a lesson. We'd be dead a long time ago, right? So I go out. Now there's tension, right? Because dad and his son raking leaves. So we're raking. I'm trying to actually fix my grass that he's torn up. And I eventually decide to break the ice. Do I have to? No. Shouldn't he be apologizing to me? Yes. But he's so wound up, he's not. And I'm in it for the long haul. So I'm raking leaves, and I break the ice, and I say, Case, remember when you were a little kid? We used to rake up a little pile of leaves and to jump in them. And you know what he did to me? He turned his back to me. You're back to me. And I had an image. Remember Home Alone, the first one, the good one? At the end of it, when Macaulay Culkin runs through the wet bandits, all the water, and he comes up, and Joe Pesci puts him up on that hook, and then the next door neighbor, scary guy, comes and does this. That's what I pictured with my rake. One good crack over his head, put him in a little wood chipper, nobody would miss my son. So I put my rake down, and I go, and I jump in the leaves. And now I'm laying there like an idiot, looking up at the sky. Calm thing, good idea, God. Really like this. How's this working? And I'm waiting for him to humble himself. And finally, Casey comes, jumps in the pile of leaves next to me. Now tense again. Where's the apology? How many to many you'd be like, apology right now would be a nice thing to do. But I don't, and I wait. And finally, by the way, in that moment, for him to put his rake down and come and jump in the pile, it almost makes me cry. And jump in the pile of leaves, that's his own humility. Do you know how much shame is in that kid at that moment? He knew what he did was wrong. He had called me all kinds of nasty names. That kid knew that what he had done was wrong. I didn't have to point it out. And you know how much humiliation that is? See, that's the beautiful part. When you humble yourself, now it puts it all back on them. And now, when he put that rake down and he decided, I'm going to jump in the leaves, see, it does. Because we fought so much. These moments meant a lot to me because we fought so much. So he wanted the relationship with me. He wanted to be next to his dad. So we're laying in the pile, and now inside I'm like, just apologize, you jerk. Just apologize, you jerk. And finally I get it. Dad, sorry. Shouldn't have said those things to you. And my response was, darn right you shouldn't have. No, I didn't do it. Look, the point is, you have every right to yell. You have every right to lecture him. But you don't have to in that moment, right? Like you're justified, but the humility leads your child to contrition. It's God's humility that leads us to contrition, right? And so when we do that with your kids, I will tell you, the strong-willed child, you will have such a bond with them because that fight will be turned to your advantage. And it's there's such a bond that Casey and I have because we fought so much. And now we fought to be together. We still fight some because we're both kind of have that jerky nature. But anyway, the point is, you can be really tough. You don't give in. I didn't take him to his hockey game, and I didn't have to lecture him. Well, Casey, next time, there's no need for that. Occasionally, when he was doing something, I would say these words, rake leaves. Remember the raking leaves? And that was it. Rake leaves. And that was a code word in our home for a little while of like, don't mess with me. This is a rake leaves example. Let me do this example for, which one was I going to do? Humility. Let me do one more humility one because I really like it. And then I'll do the, I'm going to do the anxiety one. And then a motivation, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so, I just forgot. Isn't that funny? I'm really trying to fit a lot in. I'm really trying to give you really good stuff. So one quick humility thing. This is more in the early days. Casey had yelled at my wife, was upset, and went to his room stomping off. And I was just learning this stuff, so I was going after him, because that's what we do. I was going after him up to his room. Well, what happens? I calm myself down, so I start going up to his room, and I trip on some Legos that he had left in the middle of the stairs. Now I'm furious again. How many times do I have to tell you not to leave your Legos in the floor? So now I've got to calm myself down again. So I do it, and I go upstairs, and my true nature is to just barge into his room and read him the riot act, because that's what my dad did. So I'm fighting, all these years I've been fighting the example I had from my dad and what I knew, all of that. So I go up and I knock on his door. And some of this stuff is so going to irritate you. Why do I have to knock on the door? It's my door. I knock on the door. I don't really hear anything, but I go in because I respect his space a little bit. So I walk in the room with the Legos. I've got the little devil on the shoulder, angel on the other one, and the devil usually a lot of times one is like, show him the Legos that you left in the middle of the floor and you're going to burn them, because that feels really good. Instead, I sat on the floor and I started building with his Legos, and I didn't say a word. And I got that from Jesus when they brought the woman caught in adultery to him. And he kneeled in the dirt and didn't look at her, avert his eyes from her shame. I want you to know with your strong-willed kids, now this is good because I didn't sleep last night. It makes me a little bit more emotional, but this stuff is good. I promise you, your strong-willed kids have a lot of shame inside of them. They don't wake up every day and think, how can I be bad so everybody hates me? That's what it feels like, because they continually do bad stuff. I'm not excusing that stuff. But they have so much shame, and all they've usually gotten at school and elsewhere is, stop it, or else you're going to lose your stuff. And nobody will come along and understand them and say, you're not just being a bad kid. You just need some tools how to do it differently, right? And so you've got to watch that shame thing in there. So the reason I sat on the floor is because I knew that my son knew what he did was wrong. And I build with my Legos. And again, there's a tension of like, when's he going to come down? Eventually, he slinks down off of the bed. Now we're building together. And I like it metaphorically. We're building something. I'd be like, hey, let's build a fire engine or whatever it was, spaceship at the time, whatever. Probably for him, it was a gun. Let's build a gun that can kill people. So, because he's a boy, that's what he did. And so we're building something. And you know what? I didn't have to say anything. Because I wasn't staring at him, we were building, he said, Dad, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Try leading kids to contrition. It's a really cool thing. How many of your kids struggle with anxiety of some kind? Okay, if you have your hand out, open up to the second page, please. You'll see a chart with 3 columns. And that first column, just give you a little insight. The kids with very busy brains, everything feels like it's out of control for them. Their bodies even feel out of control when they have sensory issues. And I feel like that at times, as you can probably tell, out of control. And so my natural impulse is to control other people. And that's why they're bossy. How many of you have bossy kids? Okay, so quick example. We're doing these camps, after school camp. Kids come and do homework with me because parents would pay me anything to do homework time with their kids. And I was patient because they're not my kids. It's easier. So kid comes over to my house and he comes in and he starts bossing me around. My initial instinct, and it still is this, so don't worry that your initial instinct is something bad. It's how you deal with that, right? So my initial instinct to look at and say, why are you bossing me around? No wonder you don't have any friends, you bossy little jerk. Like, that's what I'm thinking. How many of you think about that about your kids? We do that, right? But I have to step back and think wisdom, wisdom. I'm here to give wisdom. And what I realized, this kid's at school all day. Literally everything's out of his control at school. He doesn't get to choose anything. People tell him what to do all day long. And you know from being a strong-willed child, that's not fun. Because you've got your own idea, and half the stuff your teachers are doing, you're thinking, that's dumb, stupid, I'm never going to use that. And you were, so wait, that's a huge trigger, by the way. It's a waste of time. With your kids, that's a massive trigger. Now, you're like, well, they don't do anything but play video games. It's not like they manage their time that well, but it's a big trigger for me. I don't like anybody wasting my time.
I mean, I played games, but I read a lot of books.
You read a lot of books. Absolutely.
It wasn't wasting my time.
Absolutely. You don't have to justify. You're okay. We love you.
No, it was a
So,
benefit for me.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, good.
Parents that didn't read.
Okay, good. So where was I now that you interrupted me?
I'm so sorry.
What was it?
I'm a blurt out, right?
Well, don't justify now your bad behavior. I mean, come on. I mean, there's a little bit of decorum here in a public place. Get it together, lady. So, we're friends. We can do that.
Yeah, kids don't have control.
They don't have control all day. So he comes to my house and there's all these kids and it's loud and it's noisy. Another big trigger for many of your kids. So his impulse is to control someone. So in that moment, I stepped back and I said, I think I know what's happening. You're at school all day. Everything's out of control. You come to my house. It's all chaos here. And so your natural impulse is to control other people. And you know how I know that? Because I'm the same exact way. When I'm tired and when I don't feel well, I get very particular. How many of you do that? And so I'm teaching him. You're not just a jerk, you're an overwhelmed kid. See, I can't fix a jerk, but I can help an overwhelmed kid. So I said, here's what I need some help with. There's that help with a job. Go to the basement. I have a broom that's broken. Find some duct tape, be a little MacGyver, fix my broom for me. It would really help me out. And so what I did was I gave him something he was in control of, that he's good at doing, and he accomplished it. When you give kids stuff they're in control of with those jobs, then they can control themselves. Because, does that make sense? It's kind of a cool process. So here was so you go down that chart and you see like that's why they're bossy, they can't play games, they cheat, they quit, change the rules. All of those things are kind of wrapped up in that. So anxiety comes into play there because anxiety is about unknowns, things you can't control. It's the worst thing in life for all of us, things we can't control. So here's the example. I say, what's your name, Kansas City Chiefs hat dude? Justin, good name. Justin was the son of, we lost a son, his name was Justin. So always, darn it, why isn't your name something else? So, Justin, I'm not going to use your name. I can't do it, I'm too tired. So Christian, good name. So, Christian, hey Christian, you want to do Taekwondo this spring? And Christian's like, sure, Dad, sign me up. I come home a few days later, Christian, gotta go, man, gotta go. And here's what we often get. Dad, my stomach's kind of upset. I don't feel good today. Could we just go next week? Promise I'll go. No. Here's what we're going to do. If we leave right now, we'll go to McDonald's. We'll get a Happy Meal. Everybody will be happy. Bribery never works. So then we do this thing. You know what? I paid $135 for that class. Your little butt's going to be there. As if your child's going to say, Dad, I didn't want to go, but now that I know how much it cost you, I'm motivated. They don't care. So the only thing I've left is I'm going to grab him by the forearm and drag him out to the car, and we're going to yell and scream the whole time, because when I was a kid, I didn't get to do Taekwondo. It cost me a lot of money. This kid's starving in Africa. A little bit of gratitude would be nice, and I throw out everything I can, just get him in the car, put my hand over the head like they do in the cop shows, and push him in the car. Just get in the car. How many of you do that? So along the way, I may get this. No, I'm not going. Taekwondo's stupid. You're stupid. How many of you ever get that from your kids? Lovely being a parent, isn't it? So in the moment, what usually happens is, you know what? You will get your little butt in the car right now. And we step into it and we escalate it. And in the moment, you know what I'm seeing? Defiant little snot that makes my life difficult. And to my shame, I used to say that to Casey. Why do you have to make everything so difficult? I think that doesn't wound someone's heart, and that's all my issue. So, in the moment, I hear defiant, disrespectful kid. But you know what it is, and it's not an excuse, it's just the root of it. It's anxiety. Anxiety is caused by unknowns, things you can't control. I am 53 years of age. I still struggle with new experiences. My natural impulse, whenever someone says, hey, do you want to do that? Nope, don't want to do it. By the way, I'll share this with you. My natural impulse is always to say no. When I'm doing my morning walks with God, I'm saying, trust the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to your understanding, all your ways acknowledge Him. And I'm asking, what's your will? And sometimes you get that sense that God wants you to do something. You know what my initial response is? Not going to happen. I know you're bigger than me. I know you've got a lot of wisdom. I don't like your idea, God. I don't like it. It's going to make me uncomfortable. And I don't like discomfort. Not happening. Next time I walk, still think it's a pretty bad idea, God. Not liking it. And eventually, I say yes, but not right away. I have very honest talks with God. And it's not an excuse, but I wrestle with it. I'm like, look, you kind of made me this way. I know it's kind of an excuse, but it's just my way. I know it, and so I'm comfortable with it. That's what I do. I will share this as not a justification, but hopefully for a few people out there, and forgive me if it offends you, I swear when I talk to God. I do. I know that may not be right, but I was, you know that story of the woman caught in adultery? I was walking one day, and I'm having like a little picture of that, and you know what hit me, and I hope this doesn't offend you, but what hit me was the freaking God of the universe knelt. That phrase, for some reason, it makes it raw and real. The freaking God of the universe knelt. The enormous humility. I wouldn't have done that. I would have called her all kinds of names. Little hussy, put your clothes on. Why are you sleeping with men? Don't you have enough self-respect? Jesus didn't. He knelt in the dirt and averted his eyes. And so I say that because I'm wrestling with it in my own personal life a little bit, because I have honest talks with God of like, do you want me to stop swearing like that when I'm talking to you? Now, I don't walk around like swearing with other people, except live presentations, of course. But I don't use useless. But there's something about the intensity that makes stuff very real for me, and I really am wrestling. And so if you struggle with that, you're not alone with that. And so the fruit of my life, besides my language, I think is fairly decent, so I'm continuing with it. So anyway, until God mutes me or something. Okay, so, but I do apologize if it offends you. So, where was I in my story? Oh, it's anxiety. It's unknowns. So, here's what your child's thinking. Inside, he's starting to wrestle. You said we're going to Taekwondo. Is it going to be really noisy at the Taekwondo place? Is the instructor going to be nice to me? What about the other kids? Are they going to pick on me? Because I get along better with older kids. I get along better with like older kids and adults and little kids and animals, but kids my own age, I struggle to connect with them. How many of your kids are like that? Look, have some compassion. What would it be like? Here's what we basically tell them. Hey, 12 years of school, guess what? You're going to go to school with only kids your own age, and you're not going to connect well with them because you're too smart for them and you think they're dumb, and you're driven to other people. So enjoy school today. with all kids that you can't naturally get along with. And by the way, when you sit at lunch period at the cafeteria, you're probably going to sit by yourself. What do you think that feels like all day? And then your kid comes home from school, and you wonder why he doesn't want to sit and do this stuff, because he's probably worked so hard to hold it together for the teachers. And sometimes I get calls from parents who are like, well, my son got in trouble because he pushed another kid in line at the cafeteria. I'm like, who cared? So what that tells me is your son has initiative. He was hungry, moved another child out of the way, right? But sometimes think what he didn't do. He didn't push him on the ground and stomp on his head. He didn't hit him in the back of the head with scissors. There was no blood involved. So he pushed the kid out of the way. What I'm going to teach him is next time, just do it and don't get caught. You just need to get, no, I'm kidding. But I mean, you're going to have to wrestle because your kids are going to do stuff like that. And you're going to be like, call me when there's bloodshed. Like when we did that, we did stuff like that with kids. We did all of that stuff, and it wasn't a big deal. And teachers have it hard because there's lawsuits, but still. So, what if the other kids pick on me? What if I'm not good at Taekwondo and I want to quit? Is Dad going to call me a quitter? No. And the reason he'll say, no, I'm not going. You're stupid. I hate you. Have you ever wondered why they would do something that results in them losing everything they own? It's this. Fine, spank me, take away everything I own, send me to my room. I can take that, but do not send me to another place where I can get rejected and I might fail. Not happening. Does that make sense? So in that moment, this wraps everything together, and I say, I look down at Robert, and he's screaming, and his face is all red. Taekwondo's stupid. I'm not going. Or here's another good one for Christian parents. You can't make me. Have your kids do that one. Oh, you are not going to challenge my authority, right? They know that. They're so smart. They play us. So when I look down at him, because I control myself and I give my child wisdom and tools, I look down and say, Robert, I think I know what's going on. Because remember that phrase, when your world is out of control, mine's not. I'll give you wisdom. You know what's going on is you're nervous because you're going to a new place. You should be a little bit nervous. You know how comforting that is to someone who's freaking out to know you're not just a defiant little snot, and you're because he knows his brother and sister don't freak out. And he knows the other kids. He's the weird one who's sat outside. That kid that you have, the strong-willed one, he knows he's the outlier. He knows he's the one when you go out with a family, he's the one who can't eat at the restaurant, has to be all particular, and he ruins every outing. And they do. How many of your kids, by the way, are great with one parent and horrible with both? Right? So, because they know when mom takes them out, mom's usually like, okay, let's give them a little bit of latitude, right? And then when dad's along, mom senses dad's like, get down off of that. So mom's like, oh, just chill, husband, he's going to be okay. And then he pick up all that tension and it blows up. So it's just better if you divide and conquer sometimes. It really is. Or get on the same page with each other and relax a little bit with it. So when I look down and say, Robert, I know what's going on. You're anxious. See, now I've given him wisdom. You're not just a terrible, difficult kid. You're a nervous kid, and I've normalized it. Please normalize some of these things like anxiety. Of course, this is a great phrase. Of course you're nervous. You mean it's normal to be nervous? Of course you're going to a new place. They might reject you. You may not like it. It may be a waste of your time. But I know that you're capable. I believe you're capable of doing it. I love that phrase, I believe you're capable. So here's the tool that we use for anxiety. Whenever you're taking your kids to a new place, ask another adult to give your child a specific job to do. Does that make sense? So if I go a few days ahead of time, say, hey, Mr. Taekwondo, my son's going to be in your class next week, loves helping other people. You give him a job to do. And Taekwondo guys like, Robert, psyched you're in my class. Listen, next week, I need you here 5 minutes early. I need you to rearrange the mats, set up the cones, help me out getting ready for class. Most of your kids to other people? Yes, ma'am, yes, sir. So next week when I come in, Robert, come on, gotta go. Here's what his mind triggers to, not all the unknowns. Mom, Dad, remember, Taekwondo guy needs my help. He said be there 5 minutes early, so we have to leave like 3.5 hours early, so we're not late. Honor it a little bit and get there a little bit early for them. They are slow processors. When they walk into a new place, it's slow. They're soaking up the environment. And so for them to go even a few days ahead of time to soak it up, if your kids are transitioning to a new school, Make sure you give them time over the summer, something else, just to go. There's something comforting about knowing like that's where the hallway and that's where the cafeteria and this is where things are. I'm 53 and I still do this. I get here early. Remember at the beginning, yesterday or last night, I said, hey, why'd you come out? What are you looking for? And I was asking you to give me stuff. That wasn't for you. I know what you're going to ask. I've done this like 2,000 times. Everybody asks the same questions. That was for me. Because I'm an introvert and I have a lot of anxiety. And that's my way of listening and connecting before I do that. That's my tool that I use because I have a lot of anxiety. So when he walks in that place, he's got his job to do. And he goes and does it. And the Taekwondo guy says, nice job, my friend. Same time next week. So if your kids have a teacher at school, Rebecca, I need your help. Like little kids with a little bit of separation anxiety. Rebecca, I need your help. I need you to move all the books in my classrooms from this side of the room to that side of the room. And tomorrow, you can move them back. And your child won't care because they love doing the job. And that's why I love giving jobs to do. Have a sports coach do it. Have to get them out there. Have another adult do it because they'll listen. Does that make sense? So here's what I want to do. I want to end on this right now. Because I've got 4 minutes left, and I want to make up some of the time. When we come, I want to give you a short little break to get some water, do whatever you need to do. When we come back, I'm going to do a thing on internal motivation, how to motivate your kids. We'll do some stuff on couples, on marriage, getting on the same page, and I'll do some Q&A, whatever you want to do. If you do, I didn't make the announcement. I'm not with the CDs. If you weren't here last night, we have all of our audio CDs, the entire collection. It's usually like $4.97 or $6.97. We're doing 2 for $99, or get everything we own plus the marriage mentoring plus the sibling fight one for $197. If you need help financially, see Casey out there. He will help you. If I don't say it later, I know a bunch of you bought them last night. If you get the CDs, do listen to the Strong-Willed Child one and the ADHD ones first. They're very, very foundational. And as you listen, if you have questions, just email me and I'll help you out with everything.